Great. Thank you for that introduction, and thanks to the organizers for inviting me to come give it. Well, allowing me to come give this talk. I wasn't invited. So I'm going to talk about JBrowse 2. I imagine many of you are familiar with JBrowse. It's been around for a long time, and the feeling I get is a lot of people at Cores end up implementing it for their customers at some point. So I thought I'd come and talk to you about the stuff that is new in JBrowse 2. So JBrowse 2 is a complete rewrite from the ground up of JBrowse. It is a fully featured genome browser. It gives a lot more functionality than just JBrowse 1, which was just a linear genome viewer. This also has special features specifically for looking at structural variants and comparative genomics. I'll talk about those. It is both a web-based tool like JBrowse 1, but also has desktop applications for Mac, Windows, and Linux. And it has support for lots of data types. So for comparative genomics, there is both an interactive dot plot that compares two genomes. It's interactive, so you can select a region and you're like, oh, I'm interested in that little piece there. And then it'll give you a pop-up menu, and it'll give you like a Synteny view, like this lower view here, where you can compare the two genomes more closely. I'm not going to talk any more about those today. I am giving a talk at BOSC in a few days about what I've been doing at Wormbase with JBrowse 2, where I'll talk a little more about that. The structural variant inspector basically it also comes in kind of two pieces. First is this view where you have something that's like a spreadsheet that basically gives you a list of all the structural variants that's in, say, your VCF file, and then gives you like a circular view that's kind of like Circos, where you have things that are connected where there's been some indication of like breakpoints and things like that. And so you can use the spreadsheet thing to do spreadsheety type things like sorting and filtering and stuff like that. And if you click on one of the arcs in the circular view, it'll open up something that looks like this, where you can see, it's kind of hard to see. The upper one is chromosome 1. There's a very tiny 1 up there that's hard to see on the screen. And then on the second panel, there's a very tiny 5. So you can see that there are reads chugging along in chromosome 1, and then all of a sudden those same reads pick up on chromosome, they're chugging along chromosome 1, and then you see they pick up on chromosome 5. So this is some sample data that is from a breast cancer library that I think is widely available. Anyway, other things that might be of interest to people who do core work is there's a graphical configuration editor. If you worked with JBrowse 1, you know that there was a lot of editing JSON files. Now you don't have to do that. You can just put things into a nice user interface for just about everything you might want to configure. And that configuration editor is available both for admins and regular users, although regular users are restricted to doing it like on a copy of a track, whereas admins can actually edit the things that are actually presented on the web. And you get the same editor in the desktop application as well. You also have the ability to write callbacks like in JBrowse 1, except now instead of them being written in JavaScript, they're written in something called Jexel, which is a JavaScript extension language. So it's safer basically to use. Since you're letting regular users edit stuff, it basically limits the amount of things you can do as a regular user, so they won't go breaking things. There's also a plugin infrastructure. I'm not going to talk much about that. My colleague, Carolyn Bridge, is giving a talk at BOSC in a couple of days. She'll talk about it, but basically everything you might want to do is pluggable. There are lots of examples already of the plugin architecture. This one here is one that Carolyn wrote for plugging into the ICGC, the International Cancer Genomics Consortium, I'm pretty sure is what that stands for. So anyway, so it's very pluggable. Again, like I said, there's a desktop application. That's what's on the right is the splash screen for the desktop. And it's also it's really easy to embed. That's what I'm going to be talking about at BOSC, embedding the linear genome view into a website. It's really easy. Other things that people who are running cores might find useful is that the initial setup of a JBrowse instance is very scriptable. There is a command line interface, called JBrowse that lets you do a lot of scripting and things on the command line. The views are extremely shareable, so if you get something set up for a client, it's very easy to hit a link that says, give me a shareable link, and off it goes. It gives you an encrypted and secure URL, so you don't have to worry about, what you're sending to them, is HTTPS, and there's a password associated with it, so that's great. And if you're doing work on the desktop, you want to send users a link for a desktop, you just send them, you can save out a configuration file, send them the configuration file, and they can open it, and it just works great. There is a wide variety of file formats supported, even more than JBrowse 1. I'm not going to read them all. There is also support built in for OAuth authentication, and authentication is also pluggable, so if you have some other authentication methods, you can write a plugin for that. Also, you have the ability to open UCSC-style like track hubs. Things coming up in the future, there's a version of Apollo that is coming too. That is, I'm thinking probably first quarter of 2023 that'll be along. We continue to have a lot of buy-in from the community, so that we're always working on new things. And there we go. So in conclusion, JBrowse 2, it's easy to use and configure. Maintains the utility of JBrowse 1 with giving a lot more functionality, and it's very extensible with plugins. And thanks to the great people I work with, both at UC Berkeley and the Ontario Institute for Cancer Research, whose institutions have funded some of this work, as well as the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and the NIH. Thank you.
Okay, if anybody has any questions, you can come up to the microphone, maybe just one quick question. Let's see if there's any online. If not, oh, wait.
Sorry, just quickly, I might not have heard correctly, but is there any integration with notebook environments such as Jupyter?
Oh, so yeah, I didn't talk about that at all, but yes, there is a Jupyter Notebook plugin thingy. I actually plan on developing some coursework for that, for a course I'm working on for the fall. So yeah, there is a Jupyter, there's Jupyter and R extensions